Yeah, but we're going to be talking about Norwich City. We'll give you the highlights in just a few moments' time because Rob Butler is down trying to get a word with some fans. It's going to be interesting to hear exactly what the vibe is because Norwich weren't much better in the first half, but it's same old Norwich City coming back to haunt them. Also on the phone in tonight, we've got Nick Masheter from BBC Sport. He's making is this your debut on Canary Call?
Yeah, long-time listener, first-time contributor, I think
yeah,
is the phrase.
Absolutely. Well, you've been following this from afar, obviously. What is your kind of upsum of where Norwich City are?
It's been coming, hasn't it? I think anybody that hasn't been looking in the right places, how are you surprised at this? This has been 4-5 years in the making. Continued wrong decisions, continued wrong appointments, losing good people, replacing them with the wrong fits. And it is, unfortunately for the club, not a surprise to see them where they're at because of the decisions that have been made over a long period of time. I don't think I'm the only person to be saying that now.
As far as the game today is concerned, it did look at one point midway through the second half like it might be the day that Norwich City started to turn things around because, you know, you've been around football a long time. It's a funny thing. Sometimes it can just be a 1-0 win that can change things. It doesn't necessarily fix a lot of those problems you're alluding to, but as far as the sort of direction of travel is for now, but somehow they managed to find a way to not seal the deal.
That's what happens when you're down there, isn't it? I think Norwich aren't unique in that situation. If you're struggling, if you're not winning, especially at home, the nerves creep in, the confidence is low, the fragility is there for everybody to see, and at the end of the game, the players look like they wanted the ground to swallow them up. They're going round to not take the acclaim, certainly, maybe take a bit of stick, but they look like they wanted to be anywhere else, and I don't blame them in that respect, but it looked like, and I said to you guys on the gantry up here midway through the second half before they scored, I thought they were going to win because I thought before the goal they were in the ascendancy. Leicester are out of form themselves, and I really felt that this was the opportunity for Norwich to finally get that win, and they've managed to beat themselves almost.
0800 3897 321. Canary Call is on the way as it's finished here. Norwich City 1, Leicester 2.
They've gone short for the corner. Matson's unmarked on the corner of the box, returns it to McLean, who gets the cross in. Sargent's header. There's a real chance in the 6-yard box, but nobody can get there, and it's blocked and cleared away. Pitch heads it forward for Norwich City. Fiskarin makes it his. Lovely cushioned layoff to Sargent. Here come Norwich now. Sargent shoots, deflection. Oh, it's over the top. Fisher has played the ball up here towards Fiskarin. Fiskarin, it does take a shot on. It's blocked. Second attempt. He's found the net. Matthias Fiskarin with a bit of composure and a bit of magic from 20 yards. Drives it low into the corner of the net. It's only the second goal Norwich have scored at the Barclay End this season, but it was beautifully taken by the Dane, and it is Norwich City 1, Leicester City 0. Spartau wins it, finds Sargent. The Spartau has now continued his run, and Sargent finds him. Now Spartau into the penalty area, forced wide by Vestergaard, gets the shot in. Oh, and the keeper's tipped it round the post. And lays it off to Ricardo Pereira, who's put it over the top of the Norwich defence, and Jordan James is onside. He's burst through into the penalty area. James Kovacevic makes the save with his foot. Got it now for Tawu, level with the penalty area on the right hand side, measures the cross. Topic comes across and blocks it. It loops up in the air. Norwich got to be careful here. It comes back to Deco Reed, who hits the equaliser. He's only just come off the bench and he's made an immediate impact. Topic did ever so well to block the cross initially, but then Norwich couldn't deal with it. It looped in the air. It was turned back to Bobby Deco-Reed. He fires in. Leicester are level. It's Norwich 1, Leicester 1. James on the left-hand side for Leicester. Cuts inside. Plays the ball into a central position. Deco-Reed plays it into the penalty area for Tawu, who's arriving bang on time, and he's put it over the top. That was a glorious, glorious chance for Leicester to go in front. Here's Ricardo Pereira in the centre circle for Leicester. Bout fast plays it to the right hand side. Deco-Reed knocks it behind Kenny McLean. Tawu's onto it. He'll cross into the penalty area. James with the header. Leicester have scored in stoppage time, and that may well be the goal that condemns Norwich City to a record-breakingly awful start to the season at home. James with the header, and even having had the lead in this game, Norwich City find themselves 2-1 down to Leicester, and the boos tell you everything. It's the first time ever that a team in the second tier of English football has lost 7 out of 7 home games at the start of a season.
Canary Canary Call.
Have your say.
Call 0800 389 7321.
BBC Radio Norfolk.
Slightly later than advertised, this is your Canary Call here on BBC Radio Norfolk. Rob Butler and BBC Sports' Nick Masheter with me. I'll tell you the reason it's slightly less later than advertised, because I've been down to the front of the Barclay end. I've spoken to loads of fans. It was all kicking off down there in terms of what people wanted to say. It was all kicking off in terms of opinions. People were angry that Liam Manning went down the tunnel. He did clap the fans. I saw him as he went off. He was clapping the stands, but he scuttled off, if you like, for want of a better phrase. Left the players to face the music. He apologised for that last time. Let's see what he says later. And I'm going to bring you in a few minutes some Voxes that I have got with lots of Norwich fans, including the Bridget, who was very upset, I must say. She was very, very upset. But also, we want your calls. 0800 389 7321 is the number. Nick's going to be with me. He's been watching the game. Nick, you cover Leicester City on a weekly basis. You're obviously from Norwich, so you grew up as a Norwich fan. I mean, we've managed to lose that game somehow. I don't know how. Yeah,
and just to start off with, obviously we're sitting in the south stand at the minute, but we can hear protests. We want Napa out from behind the city stand. We can't see anything, of course, but they are there. The fans have gathered. Obviously, we don't know how many. But it was interesting at the end of the game. I felt that the reaction from Norwich fans was almost muted. I expected absolute mutiny, and there wasn't. It was almost like the fans have given up. They know the club's not listening to them, so what's the point? What do we have to do to make the club listen to us, to take action? And there was a resignation, there was apathy, and apathy is so much worse than anger. We've seen it before at this club. I've seen it. Everybody's seen it at other clubs. Norwich. That's not a unique thing just to Norwich, but at the minute it looks like the fans have given up as well, because even after they went 1-0 up, there wasn't the atmosphere. It was flat, and even after Leicester scored, obviously in injury time, there was no reaction from the fans, and I expect an absolute mutiny.
Well, there's certainly a reaction out there. Nick's right, I can hear it as well. Bearing in mind I've got closed headphones on. I'll just lift one up if you're watching live on the stream, and you'll see that we can hear some noise out there. We have got a reporter out there, Robbie West from Look East, so we will cross to him just as soon as he's in a position to broadcast. But yeah, we want your calls. You can listen in on the radio and BBC Sounds, of course, and you can watch if you head to the BBC Sport website. Just search for Norwich City. Let's get on with the calls then. Anna, you're first. Thanks for joining us to kick things off. You just don't trust them to turn it round after another... Well, we've snatched defeat from the jaws of victory there, Anna.
I mean, same old. This management team, this board, they're not going to be turning it around, and it absolutely blows my mind that they somehow convinced our owner that this is all down to injuries when it obviously is not. And I mean, we keep saying this, no manager should survive that run of defeats, but we keep saying it. We said it a couple of games ago, we said it after the Ipswich match. Feels like we're all going around in circles, and I mean, I was listening to the radio today. I wasn't feeling too good, so I couldn't go. And listening to the radio, I could hear that the Norwich fans, they tried. They desperately want to be able to get behind their team, but the message coming out of the club lately, it's created very much a us and them kind of atmosphere. And some of the messaging that comes out, it makes you feel a little crazy. Like, are we actually witnessing the same football club, or are they really that oblivious and digging their heads that deep in the sand? But I mean, I don't think it's a case of Manning or Napa at this point. I think they both need to go. No manager should ever survive that run of results, and if he goes, I wouldn't trust Napa at all to bring in a new manager. And it's so disheartening and so upsetting at the moment, because I know I won't be alone in this. The fact that I have always, for as long as I can remember, used football as a distraction, as those 90 minutes where you can just be with thousands of other people, forget about your life, watch the football, just escape from everything. Win, lose or draw, I've always enjoyed just being around like-minded people, but I don't enjoy it at the moment, and I hate that. And I hate the fact that I was a little relieved that I didn't feel too good today, because I probably would have gone to Carrow Road and I probably would have hated it.
Yeah, and I hope you feel better soon, Anna. Best wishes to you. And Nick, this is the thing, we talked about this before when we were chatting off air. Apathy. That's the problem, and Anna's very eloquently described the feeling of apathy towards this football club from the fans.
Certainly better than I could do, but well, that's the thing. We're going round in circles. What's been spoken about for the last month, what's been spoken about for the last 2 months, the club don't seem to be any further forward. The fans don't seem to have changed their mind, and at the minute, you cannot see. Well, it's not even at the minute. The current ownership and the leadership and Liam Manning have lost them. They're not turning round now, and the inaction, and as Anna said, sort of burying their heads in the sand is baffling at the minute. For an expensively assembled squad, we've just seen the accounts come out as well, and of course that doesn't include the summer expenditure and the summer wages, because some of these players have come in on a significant wage. When you look at what they've done in the past, Borja Sainz came in on a fairly comparable wage to Diallo, for instance, and what are they getting for their money right now? Absolutely nothing, because they're in the bottom three, losing every week at home, and you just cannot see it turning around.
We've got some, thanks Anna, we've got some pictures that have been sent by a friend of mine who's a Norwich fan and has been in the Barclay end today, and he sent me pictures. There's kind of smoke bombs, I guess you'd call, going off, lots of sort of green and yellow smoke, and it's full. I can show you as well, Nick. We're looking at these pictures on my phone, and got some video as well that we'll watch, and Robbie West, our reporter, is out there. We're going to get to him just as soon as we can. He's here reporting for Look East tonight, but you can see what I'm showing you here.
It takes a huge amount for Norwich fans to revolt.
Yes,
I think if you look in some of the clubs I've covered with Wolves or Leicester, and Leicester in a similar position as well, by the way. They've got an ownership, they've got a leadership team that doesn't speak to the fans that much. They're incredibly frustrated.
Yeah.
They're unhappy with the ownership, and this is a team that won the Premier League 10 seasons ago. But you look at where Norwich are right now compared to other clubs. If other clubs were in this situation, there would be more than 5 tennis balls on the pitch. Let's put it that way. There would be more people outside. There was just this resignation at the end of the game to see that the club aren't listening, to see another defeat, and to kind of sort of see that hope slowly disappear.
Let's go to Finn. Hello, Finn. You were our special guest on Yellow Friday last night, our Friday fan. You've been at the game today, mate. How you feeling, Finn, after that? What are you saying?
I am feeling absolutely disgusted by the board, the coaches and all them players.
What needs to happen, Finn?
Change with our manager and with our sporting director. The way that we're playing is passive, slow. But today, we didn't look passive and slow. We looked okay in patches. We looked all right. But overall, in that second half, once again, Norwich City can see 2 goals. And I'm fed up with saying it, how bad the second halves are being.
Yeah, back to you in a minute, Finn. I mean, Nick, you've just spotted something here. We'll come back to you. I sit here every week after a home game, and usually the director's box is completely empty after a game, but we're now, 20 past 5, and the director's box is sort of half full, Nick. I don't know whether that's because someone's had to go in a room and shut a door and kick everyone out. We're being journalists here, aren't we? But you spotted it.
Yeah, look, we have to speculate. We don't know exactly why so many people have probably maybe 20 to 30 people have come back into the director's box across the pitch from us, but clearly the protests are still going on. Look, there's got to be a safety aspect. We've seen last week that, and the club came out about the criticism towards players and players' families. That cannot happen, and everybody's got to be safe. Everybody's got to be sensible. You've got to maintain the safety aspect of things. But yeah, at the minute, what we're seeing is quite a number of people filtering back into the director's box to presumably, and I say we have to make an assumption, we do not know, it's not verified, to stay away from what could be happening outside.
Absolutely, because I was there before the game last week, just outside the director's entrance. There's about 30 or 40 protesters. That's swelled considerably tonight, but I remember anyone who looked out the window, that the protesters were kind of pointing at them and gesticulating and what have you. So yeah, back to you, Finn. Were you in the Barclay today, Finn? Where were you sitting?
The River End today. The atmosphere,
in the River End.
Yeah.
It was good, wasn't it? Yeah, I was just going to say, the atmosphere. Norwich fans, they've been criticised a lot, and they've been called names by some of the players as well. We know that. But the Norwich fans were excellent today, weren't they?
I thought we were absolutely excellent today. When we scored and when we play well, we get support on our team. But when we play bad, we criticise them, and I think that is fair. If you play bad, you get bad criticism back. If you play well, you get good good support onto you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so perhaps the club and should be careful with how much they criticise fans. Oh, by the way, Shane Duffy's just run out onto the pitch to do his warm down. Just coincidentally mention that. You're listening to Canary Call. Thanks, Finn. 0800 3897 321 is the number. Phil Daly, our presenter for the first part of the show, has just texted me to say it's very busy outside the director's entrance. Lots of people milling around. We're going to head out there just as soon as we can with Robbie West. Let's head to Dubai now. And I love talking to an absolute legend of Norwich City fans, the one and only John Hare, the creator of the greatest football game of all time, Sensible Soccer. John, you're a massive Norwich City fan, devoted to your club, and you're in Dubai watching this. What do you think after all this, mate?
Oh, well, I mean, there's just so many things wrong. I mean, I've been thinking how to sum it up quickly, but basically there's three things I want to pick on. The first thing is we've got Napa, who plays a very data-driven, emotionless system. He's appointed another young manager with him. When we got foreign players, youngsters like Forsen and Cernats, who need an arm around their shoulder and they need to be backed and helped. And instead, they're just being given this data-driven way of playing, and it's not playing to their strengths. All the team, you can see, they're playing with a lack of confidence. With doubt going forwards, they're not sure what to do sometimes. Certainly at the back, the confidence collapses. So I think we need an arm around the shoulder of the younger foreign players. When we've got so many, we've got about 6 under-23s there at the moment, and they need someone that can manage them. So I think an older manager might help, and we're never going to get it with Napa. Second thing, training. We're getting so many injuries. What's going wrong? Is it the training regime? Is it the pitch? Is it the equipment? At Colney I'm talking now. What's going wrong that we're getting those injuries? And the third thing, the game management today was utterly disastrous. I checked the timeline on the game. 72 minutes, we're 1-0 up. What does he do? He takes off our best player, Kvistgården, who on the day, who was very strong, and he subs in with Forsen, who we know is physically weak and lacking in confidence, and we're trying to defend a lead. I don't get that. First mistake. Second mistake, obviously he wasn't at the Millennium Stadium when we lost to Birmingham in that playoff final. You never, ever sub one, particularly a defender, when you're defending a corner. That's basic management.
Yeah, you're right.
Third one, Nakama, a guy we know can poach us a goal because he's done it. He's that player who can get in the box and poach at the end. And he brings Jurasek on, another young player low on confidence at the moment. Everything's premeditated. It's data and it's premeditated, and it is not working. And that's it. I mean, in a way, it could be a blessing that we lost this game. The one bonus of today, if you noticed, Oxford, Blackburn and Portsmouth all lost.
Yeah, well, we need to start thinking about that. Bigger. Exactly. John, just on that, I want to bring in Nick on that, because I said to you and Phil when we were watching the game management here, Norwich went to pieces after they conceded. It should have been a great moment when Kvistgården scored, and it was a great finish, brilliant. The crowd's up, and they went to pieces. There was no game management from Liam Manning. He's just got it wrong.
This is a Leicester side who've come here with 1 win in 10 as well. So you'd expect that once you go ahead, Leicester's heads would be dropping. Leicester would be the ones who would be on the back foot. But it was ultimately the other way. Leicester managed to start fighting. And they should have been 2-1 up before the end as well, with Fatou going through and putting it over the bar. So it happens. It's really boring to keep saying it over and over again, and I think that's one of the reasons why the fans that there's this malaise now happening, taking over from the anger, because they are so fed up of saying the same thing.
Our reporter Robbie has been in touch with me. He says he estimates about 300 people outside of the director's entrance. We're going to get him on just as soon as we can. Just a final word from you, John, to disrupt your working holiday. I mean, I've known you a long time, and you're always fair. You're always kind of very balanced, if I might say. Do you think there needs to be changes in terms of Liam Manning, or do you think there's any way he can turn this around? Or does Ben Napa need to go? Or do both of them need to go, John?
I think we've got what we've been waiting for 30 years, a rich and decent man in Mark Attanasio back in the club. Unfortunately, he's taken over with the worst possible combination of sporting director and manager we've had, like I can never remember. So I think he needs to get rid of Napa, because Napa can't appoint the next manager. And I also think Manning needs to go, because the confidence in the team is drained, and the confidence, you can see it in Manning's face. It's not in him. We really need an older manager just to get us out of that relegation zone. any way we can do it, and we need a new sporting director. If that can be done without upsetting the apple cart, I think you should do it now, or ASAP with the manager and maybe a sporting director just after. That'll be before Christmas.
Well, the club have backed themselves into so many corners, they don't know which one to get out of first. That seems to be the case at the minute, because it was great that the owner came over and spoke to you a couple of weeks ago, but that made Ben Napper look weak, because he's got his owner to come over to fight his battles for him.
And the first we heard from Ben Napper, and lots of people have picked up on this, the first we've heard from him is in a kind of glossy PDF document that the club have put out for the accounts, when actually what they could have done is just put a spreadsheet out with the figures on and not worried about all that, because that's just wound up Norwich fans even more, Nick.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to own the role, own the role. This is... when Ben Napper got the job, I got in touch with him. I rang him and I said, congratulations, introduced myself, as you do in the media world to football people. And we had a bit of a chat, and that seemed to go okay. A few texts, and you speak to him, and then ultimately you don't hear from him again, and that's a problem, because the media, you don't speak to the media, you speak to the fans. The media is just the middlemen. The fans need to hear from the people in charge. They need to be able to buy in to what is going on, the direction of the club, and if they don't know, and they don't hear, and they don't understand, they can't get on that bus with you, so to speak. So you're not just speaking to the media, you're speaking to the fans, and that seems to be lost here.
Thank you to John Hare, a real legend of my lifetime anyway, and I know lots of you listening as well and watching. John Hare, the creator of Sensible Soccer, but more importantly a Norwich City fan. Great to join us there all the way from Dubai, where he's working at the minute. Right, let's go and hear what we recorded earlier. This is just after the final whistle. I went down in my usual spot just in front of the Barclays, spoke to lots of fans. Now obviously the reason this has taken so long to come to air is because we had to edit it within the inch of a life, not because we were taking out any of the actual rhetoric, but it's the swearing and the noise in the background. But you will hear in the next few minutes just how angry Norwich fans are. We can hear the Napper out chanter here. It's really, really upsetting to see these things. Norwich City have managed to lose that game. What are you saying?
Absolutely rubbish. We want Manning out right now. Manning, you're out now.
What beat you as well? What'd you make of that one?
It's just a dire state of affairs, isn't it, really? Something's got to change after international break, but will they have the balls to do it? Who knows?
Half an hour or so to go. Norwich are winning that game. How have they lost it?
I don't know. You'll have to ask Liam Manning that, but got no throttle about them, have they? Yeah, terrible. Speechless.
What about you, mate? What do you think after that? I mean, Norwich have managed to lose a game. They were winning with half an hour to go.
I mean, we conceded, but then we bring on a defender. I don't know what Manning's thinking. He's got no idea.
Was he holding on for a point there at the end?
I think so. We're trying to hold on for something, but he's got to go. It's too much now. He's lost too many. He's got to go.
So you think Liam Manning needs to go, and also Ben Napper, both of them?
I think get rid of the whole board. They don't know what they're doing. I mean, Mark Antanzio is probably not even here. He don't care. Napper don't care. No one cares. He spends all the money, but they can't play football.
We can see in the background Liam Manning as he walks off down the tunnel. What are you saying after that one, sir? Go on, you say first. Go on.
Can I just ask why Norwich City are being allowed to just drift into League One? Board doesn't seem to care. They have nothing to say. Have you seen what was set out this week? How everything's going really well? Do they really think that we should be in Division 1, third tier? We, the fans, are the only ones who seem to care. I just don't get it.
What needs to happen next?
Napper needs to go. Webber needs to go. What does Neil Adams do? He needs to go. We need building again, but not from League One. The squad that we've got now, we will stay there. We won't be coming straight back up.
You can hear the fans chanting, Manning, where are you? He's gone down the tunnel. What about you, sir? You have your say. What do you think?
In this instance, I feel sorry for the players because they deserve more than that. But the second Leicester scored, we stopped playing football. And we're just inviting on. I know the confidence is low, but is that the managers, at them? I don't know. I've got nothing new to say. I spoke to you before, Rob. I've got nothing new to say. It's just hopeless. Absolutely hopeless.
And that is our record record. Norwich have lost 7 home games in the league. That's the most defeats in the second tier of English football.
Is it really?
It's a record breaker.
Then we can't go on. Whatever the situation with Manning, whoever it is, this cannot, under any circumstance, go on. I feel sorry for the players. Where is he now? He's just gone.
Do you think he needs to resign?
If he had any decency about him, he would, because he cannot get a team to play football for 90 minutes. And that's unforgivable. And Napa should go, because he's completely failed his job building a competitive team. Rob, I don't know what to say, mate. I don't know what to say.
Thanks for talking to us. What about you, sir? How are you feeling after that? You don't want to talk?
Too angry. If you don't want me to throw on the radio, then no. Sorry.
And I guess you're echoing what everyone else is saying. Everyone's got to go. Yeah, don't worry. We're with you. Right, let's see if we can get one more person. Let's see if we can find Bridget. Come on, she's angry. She's absolutely fuming. We've got Bridget coming down and Peter.
I'm so distraught. This is wrong. This is wrong. Where we are at, this is not okay. All right. This game has been it's been abject. I cannot believe these players are so lucky, and this board and this Sporting, Napa and Manning, they are so lucky. They have had 89 minutes, 90 minutes of nothing but passion and support. And my God, on the back of everything on Friday, this club is broken, and it is breaking me as a fan. I have supported this club for all of my life, and what I am seeing before me is absolutely disgraceful. And apparently Napa left before the final whistle, and Manning will not come out and see us, and they are wondering why the hell we are so angry. I have never felt this way. I am fuming. I am fuming.
Take it steady, Bridget, because I just want to say and agree with you. These fans here, these fans have sung the whole game.
My kids are saying to me, Mum, don't get so mad, and I am saying to them, this is so important. This is so important, and they have absolutely given their support, and I can't believe it. I'm willing to admit I have not supported the team for 90 minutes today, because I am disgusted by what I am seeing at Norwich City at the moment.
The Bridget, thank you very much. So many fans want to speak to me. So get your calls in now, 0800 3897 321. Wow, honestly, the emotion was palpable down there. Bridget, I've known her a long time and I've never seen her so angry. And believe you me, everyone I spoke to and saw was angry as Bridget. There was a couple of chaps who wanted to kind of have their say, but we just ran out of time there, and I kind of had a quick chat with them afterwards. Honestly, there is so much anger down there now. And these are record-breaking figures, as we mentioned. Chris Gorham broke the stat earlier. Norwich City are the first team in the second tier of English football to lose their first 7 league games at home. Nick Masheter.
How do you fix it? I think that's the biggest question now, isn't it? What do you do? How do you fix it? As I said earlier, they've backed themselves into so many corners. Did they sack Liam Manning first? Did they sack Ben Napa first? Does Zoe Webber go? Does Neil Adams go? Does Lee Dunn go? Do you need to change the recruitment? That it is just a mountain of wrong decisions after wrong decisions over the last few years. Probably a hangover from the previous regime as well, and I'm not necessarily talking about Delia. And we saw Ben Kensell and Kieran Scott being mentioned previously. These are two people in terms of being able to come back in as potential CEO and sporting director. Obviously, that was mentioned after the whole game last week. These are two people who were able to run the club, were able to help run the club effectively. With Ben Kensell looking after a stable club, Kieran Scott in his role in the recruitment side of things. I believe he's the only one who actually physically went and watched Emi Buendia before they decided to sign him.
I've heard that mentioned a few times. Do Norwich not need a fresh start though, and rather than go back to something that's been done before under a different regime, do Norwich not need a complete clear out there at some point?
But those two people mentioned, and I'm not necessarily advocating for either of them, those two people were part of the good times, shall we say, sort of the 2018 to 2021 times, where they won 2 titles, where they were recruiting well, where there was this good atmosphere. We were saying during the game, and I used to have a season ticket here, and I remember coming here in the late 90s and early noughties and seeing the empty seats. And when Norwich got into the playoffs in 2001, 2002, for the first time, I think ever, at the time, in the second tier at least. From then, the club managed to capture those fans and keep them. And
shout out to Andy Cullen.
And there weren't any empty seats for a long time, even dropping into League One. But we are now seeing those empty seats. And the two people mentioned, Kensal and Scott, they were part of the group who managed to harness some really good energy and some good results and good performances and good players. And when they left, they weren't replaced adequately.
No, that's a fair point. That is the voice of BBC Sports' Nick Masheter, a gentleman who covers Leicester City on a weekly basis, grew up in Norwich, so the perfect guest almost, I would say, apart from you never played the game to any level.
No, Saturday League on Eaton Park.
You didn't. But he's a great journalist. So, stick with us. Got plenty more to come. We'll have the local scores in a minute. Just going to be a little bit later than usual, so apologies for that. But we need to get outside because I'm not going to say it's all kicking off because I don't know. I've not been out there. But a man who has is Robbie West from Look East. Robbie, just tell us what you've seen this afternoon straight after the game.
Rob, outside the director's entrance straight after the game, there were hundreds of people who were incredibly angry, protesting. And I've been working in Norfolk for 10 years now. I've had the privilege of speaking to a lot of Norwich City fans, and I have never seen them as angry as they were tonight outside that ground. They were asking for three things. They were angry at the players, they were singing "You're not fit to wear the shirt," they were calling for Liam Manning to go, and they were calling for Sporting Director Ben Napper to be fired, and they wanted it to happen immediately. There was I've not seen anything like this outside the stadium before, and it was really real. People that you don't usually expect to see out there, from all ages, from all backgrounds, all united over the same thing. They want to see real change here at this club.
Yeah, and Robbie, I know you've been gathering stuff for Look East. There'll be full reports of this all on Look East over the next couple of days. Is it still, where are you now? Can you still see any more protests, or has it died down now?
So now it's died down, it's moved on. There's a large police presence here. There was no trouble as such this evening, but people were really trying to get their voices heard. People have moved on now. I think they feel really disappointed in, the result tonight, but just generally the whole season. Some of the people that I've spoken to said that they've never seen their club in this state. They really don't know what to do next, and they just wanted their voices to be heard tonight, and they were singing incredibly loudly. There's no way inside the stadium, as you walked out you could hear it. There's no way that the management that were inside the stadium still didn't hear what they were saying this evening.
Yeah, thanks, Robbie. And if you're watching on the stream, you will be able to see some of the pictures that Robbie shot. It's obviously quite dark out there, but there are. He's got as much light on it as he can, and you can see so many people out there. You know, lots going on out there. So our thanks to Robbie West from Look East. Make sure you tune into all the Look East bulletins over the next couple of days, and the programme on Monday night, where you'll get a full report of these. I don't want to call them ugly scenes, because Robbie said it was. You know, there was no kind of violence or anything like that, but there were a lot of people wanting to hear what make their voices heard, and let the directors and the board hear their anger here tonight on Canary Call 0800 3897 321. We could probably go on for about 3 hours here and talk to so many people, but let's crack on with those all important local scores that we need to go through. Our featured game was in the Isthmian North. Wroxham lost 3-2 at home to Brightlingsea Sea Region. Let's hear from the Yachtsman manager Jordan Southgate speaking to Nick.
Well, Geordie, that was a game that had everything. Being 2-0 down and get back to 2-2, that was a great effort, but then just thrown away at the end.
Yeah, poor first half, equally as poor as we were Tuesday night against Mulbarton, and then credit to them, actually. They turned what was a really poor performance into a galvanised group, and I felt, we spoke at half time, you get a goal, there's an opportunity, and I thought for 30-35 minutes of that second half we were just, we were aggressive, we were dominant, we were winning the flick-ons, we were completely different to what we were in the first half, and we deservedly got back in the game. We were never going to create loads of chances today. We just didn't have that flow to us. But the togetherness, the willingness to do something in the second half was great. And then, to a moment of madness in the last 95th minute to give a penalty away is just naive, poor, disappointing, and that's it's a disappointing end to what could have been probably a positive point.
That's Jordan Southgate, the Wroxham manager, speaking to our reporter Nick Bowler. They lost 3-2 at home to Brightlingsea Region in the Isthmian North. The rest of the Isthmian North results: Galston 3, Whittam Town 2, Lowestoft Town 3, Bowers and Pitsea 2, Downham 3, Stanway Rovers 2. In the National North, South Shields 1, Kings Lynn Town 1. In the FA Vars second round, Dereham Town 2, Eton Soken 1, Thetford Town 1, Linmore Gardens 1, Linmore 1 on, or Lymore I should say, 1 on penalties, and White Ensign 1, Great Yarmouth Town 4. In the Thurlow Premier, it's finished: Ely City 0, Mulbarton Wanderers 5, Fakenham Town 1, Kirkland Pakefield 0, Harleston Town 1, Ipswich Wanderers 0, Heacham 1, Surham Town Rangers 2. In the Thurlow First Division North, Diss Town 3, Needham Market Reserves 1, Dussondale and Helston Rovers 1, Framlingham Town 2, Haverhill Borough 2, Galston Reserves 2. In the Foster Solicitors Angling Combination Premier Division, Acle United 3, Easton 1, Castleacre Swifts 0, Norwich United 3, Mupford and Wrentham 7, Swaffham Town 0, Norwich Seams 2, Bungay Town 0, Skull United 0, Long Stratton 4, Sprowston 2, Beccles Town 2, Watton United 3, UEA 1, and Division 1 of the Angling Combination, Holt United 1, Thetford Rovers 0, Kirkland Pakefield Reserves 2, Yelverton 2, Loddon United 1, Caister 2, Munford 2, North Walsham Town 3, Norton Athletic 2, Fakenham Town Reserves 0, Tackleston 1, Dersingham Rovers 2, and Wells Town 0, Blowfield United 2. Back to your calls on Canary Call 0800 389 7321. Norwich were leading in the game. They lost it. They conceded 2 goals later on in the game, and it's Leicester City who take the 3 points. After Norwich scored, they completely shrank. They completely went in their shells. It's another worry for Norwich City. Let's get back to your phone calls now. After a couple of your social media posts on X, this one from Harry. I've heard this from a few people. It's unconfirmed reports. He says, so apparently Napa left before the final whistle. Say no more. Turn your back on us and don't come back. Waste of space. That is what the reports. I've heard that from a couple of people. Nick, I don't know if you know any more about that.
I haven't seen it, but I was at the Forest game when the owner, Evangelos Marinakis, left after about an hour. And Ange Postecoglou was sacked 15 minutes after the final whistle.
We've got past that.
We've slightly gone past that. That was an interesting day at the City Ground. But look, obviously we're up here at the minute. I'm in touch with a couple of people at the minute just to.
That's why he's texting on the phone.
I'm on the phone quite a lot if anybody's watching.
He's not just texting his missus or anything.
I'm not ignoring you. I promise. But look, ultimately, stop talking, stop writing in glossy magazines and binders when the accounts come out, and start acting like a sporting director.
Yeah, let's get a few more. Lucas says, listening to those reactions on the Canary Call, it really feels like enough is enough. Atanasio has to act now. A clear out of management is needed. Lots of people loving Bridget and what she had to say. Very emotional, Bridget. The Bridget. There's only one. And this one from Adrian. I'll move on from that. That was about sensible soccer, which we can't talk about all night. Steve Gedge says the Norwich City business model is based on selling lots of season tickets. If you lose the first 30% of home games, how will that encourage people to renew next year? Napa and Manning must go for business reasons alone. Never mind the fact we're bound for League One. That's Steve Gedge, well-known former EDP columnist. Let's go back to the phones now. Next call is Eric. What are you saying, Eric?
Hello, mate. Yeah, the one thing what let Manning down today was common sense. I mean, he might be good technically and all that sort of business, but that's the best of the fans today, cheering, everyone was up for it, the players were up for it. We were on the momentum, we were all up, and what are you going to do? Kill the game stone dead, substituting. And then, well, we don't know why he took the striker off, but at the point, another 10 minutes, we could have got perhaps another one. It was just common sense. There don't seem to be any common sense in our team or club.
Yeah, it is alarming how Norwich, and we mentioned this earlier, for those just joining us, you might be getting back to your cars or switching the radio on at home. It was alarming to me, Nick, how you actually said, and I know you won't mind me saying this, you thought Norwich would win that game after they went 1-up. You said to me, I think Leicester are beaten here. How did Norwich let them back into that game? Because they're a team that are really struggling.
It's confidence, it's momentum, isn't it? And again, like Norwich aren't. This isn't a unique situation to Norwich. There'll be other teams in the Football League, in the Premier League. I see Wolves a lot, and we've seen Wolves concede a lot of late goals this season. That is one of the reasons why Pereira went last week. And they weren't able to hold on. They conceded late at Tottenham. They conceded to Brighton and to Burnley late. And I don't want to talk about Wolves too much on a Norwich phone-in, but Norwich, that's not unique. So they just don't have the confidence. Do they have the belief as well? That's the thing. Do they believe in the messages they're being told? Do they believe in what they're being asked to do? Do they believe in the manager still? Do they believe in the sporting director? Do they believe in the recruitment? Do they believe in each other? And it's all well and good. Like, I know Kenny McLean's come out and said some strong words previously. It's all well and good talking about it, but there is just no evidence to see where this slide is going to stop and when things are going to change.
Keep your calls coming. Thanks, Eric. Great call. 0800 3897 321. Let us hear from one of the players. The player who's designated to put his head above the parapet was the defender Kellen Fisher. He's been speaking to our man Chris Gorham.
Kellen Fisher joins us. Kellen, that must have hurt. It feels like Norwich City found another way to lose a game.
Yeah, of course. I think it's coming the same every week, really. We can say we're good for 45, 60 minutes, but if we don't win games, that's all that matters in this league. And at the moment, we've got to pick up results, we've got to pick up points, and we didn't do that again today.
Talk me through the last sort of 20 minutes of the match. You had the lead, you were 1-0 up, but I don't know whether it's confidence or what. What was your reading of how the game finished?
I'm not too sure, really. I think we was comfortable at times. We got the goal. I think second half they weren't much for it, really. And then I don't know if it's a mentality thing or where we're at as a group, where obviously we're in a tough spot. There's no denying that. And again, it's two very soft goals, and again it's becoming the same every week, and we've got to look at ourselves, really, because it's not good enough.
It feels like you're having to work so hard as a team to score a goal, but other teams aren't having to work hard to score against you, and that's a really toxic mix, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course. And I think we showed that first half. We showed good possession in their half, creating some good chances, and then finally got the breakthrough in the second half with Chris. And again, it's another disappointing result and two very soft goals.
Yeah, and you heard the reaction from the crowd at the end. You've lost every home game this season. It's understandable, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. And we understand their anger. We understand their voice of, obviously it's their club, and we understand what spot we're in, and how they express that is we understand it. I think everyone's got to look at themselves in the mirror and sort of just it's not good enough.
Is there an acceptance amongst the squad that this is a relegation battle now?
I don't think it's a difficult question. Obviously, where we are as a club, obviously we don't want to associate that anywhere near this football club. But of course, if we carry on the way we are, of course it's going to be a relegation battle. Of course, we don't want to be in that. We need to improve. As I said, we've got to look at ourselves deeply. International break, sort of, we've got to stay switched on with everything, and I think we've got to go work harder. And yeah, of course, we're in a tough spot.
Being in a tough spot, keeping the squad all together, staying confident, that only gets more difficult the more the losing run goes on, doesn't it?
Yeah, of course, but we've got to stick together. Of course, we understand everyone's sort of anger around the club, but we've got to try and stick together. Of course, I've said many times we're in a tough spot, and we need everyone behind us. And of course, we're going to keep trying. We're going to fight for this spot. And yeah.
What about the head coach? The head coaches always get under pressure at times like this. Is there a sense that the players have done enough for him?
I think so. I think you can see we're working our socks off. We're trying things, and of course the goals are soft, but I think the way we defended today was okay at times. And I think it's just the latter moments of the game we switch off, or it's a cross in the box and it's no one's following their run. So of course it's always going to be that discussion when you lose that many games. Someone's going to mention the manager or something, but of course we stick behind him, and we'll stick together.
You talked there about switching off, and it can happen, but it shouldn't, should it? If players are switching off, that's what's costing you games.
No, of course not. And again, we'll look over that, and obviously people have got to obviously stand up and own obviously the mistakes of the goal. But of course it's part of the game, and it's happening too often at the moment. Of course, we've got to learn from it. We're at the point where it's happening a lot this season, and sort of we've got to be brought with one another. We've got to own our mistakes, and of course we're going to do that. And thanks, Callum.
Kellen Fisher there speaking to our man Chris Gorham. In a few moments we will bring you an interview with the head coach Liam Manning. I've already had a text from Chris saying he sounds crushed, so do not go anywhere. We'll bring that to you in just a second. You'll be able to see him as well. You'll be able to see the body language. Quick word from Nick Mashter from BBC Sport, who's been with us all afternoon. We can see fireworks going off in the distance. There's no fireworks on the pitch here tonight, far from it. Kellen Fisher sounds beaten. I mean, this just... I don't want to do the Mick McCarthy meme, but this just can't go on, can it? I mean, it's calm.
No, the fireworks are the highlight of the afternoon, by the way. They're just above the cathedral as well. It's a really nice picture. It can't, but that's what fans. That's what you guys have said here week in, week out for the last few weeks. Oh, it can't continue. And there's got to be a change. Ultimately, the dysfunction at the club, which we've seen over the last few years, just bleeds down. It bleeds down and it goes into the pitch, it goes into the terraces, and that's what we saw a few years ago. And this is what we're seeing again now, because they haven't fixed the problems at the top of the tree. Look, what I would look at as the only elite level appointment, and I'm talking about the hierarchy, I'm talking about the infrastructure here, I'm not looking at the management right now at all. The only elite level appointment is Dean Rastrick over the last couple of years to come in and head the academy. And
it's going to be a long-term thing, though.
That's a long-term thing, and the academy needs a lot of work from what I hear, and I think Dean Rastrick is the man to do that. That's a tale for another day.
Yeah.
But so where are the rest? That was an appointment where you go, right, okay, this is where they're going. That's this is the ambition. These are the people you want to appoint, but it's not happened.
Welcome to a special edition of Canary Call on BBC Radio Norfolk at 7 o'clock on Saturday, November the 8th. And we're back on, continuing our Norwich City coverage today, because the news has just broken that Norwich City have parted company with head coach Liam Manning following today's 2-1 home defeat by Leicester. The club say assistant head coach Chris Hogg and first team coach analyst James Krause have also left the club. We have a quote released in the last few moments from Norwich City's sporting director Ben Napper. He says, "We've tried absolutely everything possible to work through this incredibly challenging period, but unfortunately, given the recent run of results and performances, we've been left with no choice other than to make changes at this time." Ben Napper, who is staying with the club, goes on to say, "Liam and his staff worked tirelessly to move our football club forward. They're all fundamentally good people, and we wish them the very best in whatever comes next." Ben Napper says, "We very much understand the frustration and criticism from our supporters at this stage. So far, results and performances on the pitch haven't been good enough. We accept that responsibility, but it's now imperative that we start to repair the relationship with our supporters and do everything we can to give them something to get behind." Norwich City say first team coach Ryan Gary and goalkeeper coach Tony Roberts, along with set piece coach Nick Stanley, are in charge of the first team on an interim basis as the club works to appoint a new head coach. That's just been announced on the back of a record-breaking home defeat by Leicester City today. Norwich have become the first team in the second tier of English football to lose all of their first 7 home league matches in a season. They're in the relegation zone. They've not won any of their last 11 matches, and now the manager Liam Manning has lost his job. We want your reaction with our Canary Call special. Give us a call 0800 389 7321. You can WhatsApp 08000 321 333. Start your message with the word Norfolk.
Canary Call.
BBC Radio Norfolk.
Yes, a hastily convened Canary Call because Norwich City have wasted no time tonight. They've moved within a couple of hours of the final whistle, really, to dismiss head coach Liam Manning. Let's get some instant reaction. Regular Canary Call host Rob Butler has made his way into our studio in the Forum. And Rob, your reaction, it can't be one of surprise?
Well, it's not. I think we were all worried that they were going to kind of waste more time here, really. The interesting thing, and I've just listened to your reading out of the statement from Ben Napper, this is the thing that I think is going to really stick in the craw of Norwich fans, is lots of them say Ben Napper should be the one who's having a statement read out about him, because he's the man who brought Liam Manning to the club. He's the man who brought the players they've got at the club at the minute, who aren't clearly good enough to even stay in the division. Another defeat today. And I think it's interesting that they've allowed Ben Napper to make that statement. I mean, he is the sporting director. He is Liam Manning's boss. We heard from Mark Atanasio sat in the seat I'm sitting in a couple of weeks ago or a week ago. But it's interesting that Ben Napper, even though all the way through that game, and certainly after Leicester took the lead, the fans were chanting for him to leave. And it looks like he's the one leading this process of sacking Liam Manning. And now we can only assume that he's going to be the man leading the process to bring his replacement in.
Phil Daly is BBC Radio Norfolk sports editor and was presenting our coverage from Carrow Road this afternoon and was down with me in the mix zone afterwards. How would you assess the mood of Liam Manning when we spoke to him at full time?
Well, we're going to hear that interview again, aren't we, Chris? And you asked some really good questions because of the way he used his language. He said something along the lines of, going forward, the lads will need the fans behind them. And you questioned it straight away and said, well, you say the lads, you didn't say we. And he said, well, essentially, I'm all in, but you don't know what's going to happen. So, yeah, there was obviously maybe an air of what was about to happen. I think if Norwich had won today, he would still be the manager. I think even if they'd have drawn today, he'd have still been the manager. But defeat, something does have to change. And it does feel like with this 2-week break, the international break, that there is a bit of time for someone to do something. As Rob said, whether that was going to be from a higher level, a sporting director level, or whether this was going to be a head coach level, we weren't sure. Well, they've shown their cards now. And from that statement you read earlier, it's now imperative that we start to repair the relationship with our supporters and do everything we can to give them something to get behind. It's no surprise Norwich City fans have voiced their opinion that they wanted change, and it has happened.
Well, let's just bring you that interview with Liam Manning, because I think it is worth hearing again now in context. Whether he knew at this point, I'm not sure, but clearly he was about to be told, because we went off the air with our regular Canary call at 6 o'clock, and here we are back on the air at 7 with the news that Liam Manning has lost his job, along with his assistants. So today they lost 2-1 to Leicester, having taken the lead through Matthias Kvistgaard, but Leicester dominated the closing stages, scored twice, and ended up condemning Norwich City to another home defeats. Liam Manning lost all 8 of his home games in charge of Norwich City. This is what he had to say on BBC Radio Norfolk in the wake of today's defeat. Liam Manning is with us. Liam, does that feel like your team's found another different way to lose a game?
Yeah, completely. Saying the same things, right? I think that's the challenge. I think in terms of when you look at the game, first half we showed a good level of aggression and intent. Spoke a lot after the midweek around when we faced adversity, play forward, face their goal rather than ours, and I thought for large periods, up until probably Oscar's chance, the opportunity to go 2-0 up, we'd been okay without. For me, didn't test their keeper enough, I think, which has been a consistent thing around quality in attacking areas. I think, like you said, when you look at it, the plan, the way we pressed, the way we got after them, the way we played forward, the way we were a bit more direct in what we did was good. And then, obviously that the second chance of Oscar, soft free kick, and for the last 15-20 we just can't sustain the level of intensity that you need to, and unfortunately it's the challenge is when you to be able to have real impact off the bench and sustain the levels. It's been a challenge when you look at the volume of injuries we've got.
Is that why the difference between the two sides was so marked in the last 20 minutes? Would you think it was confidence, fitness, tactics? How do you describe it?
I think there'll definitely be a psychological aspect of edginess. It's happened. You spoke a lot about it in terms of in the group. It's not the first time. You've seen it throughout. I think that have to be tougher on that, which is the challenge. And then like I said, when you look at the changes that they're able to make and who they bring on, it's a big change on the game.
There are protests outside the ground again. I'm sure you've heard that yourself, Ben Napper. You're both getting in for it. It's not nice. It's horrible. Is there any reason that you can give the supporters why there shouldn't be a change over the next 2 weeks?
My whole thing, I'm not going to put on a sales pitch. My whole thing was thank the fans today. I thought they were outstanding to the final whistle. I thought they really, in a tough moment and where we're at, I think they showed what they're about today and really stuck with the group, which is the most important thing, and going forward is exactly what the lads will need.
You didn't come here to be in charge of a team that was in the bottom 3. How's it happened? How different is the job to the one you thought you were accepting in the summer?
Yeah, of course, very different. Very different. I think, and I spoke in press the other day. I think, unfortunately, there's too many areas where things aren't right. Normally, I look at myself. Do we get game plans right? Do you get team selection right? there's aspects where, of course, I would have tweaked and changed certain bits, but there's also you need the right group to go and implement the plans and get it over the line and produce moments of quality. And there's so many games where we've had really good control, got into really good areas, but nothing at the end of it, and that it's been a consistent message, which is frustrating.
You've talked about fitness issues and the injury record. Do you feel like you should have done a bit more diligence on the club before you took the job?
Possibly, who knows? Look, I don't live my life if regrets, and it's part of my journey. I'm learning, I'm hurting, I'm frustrated, I'm hugely disappointed because it's a club I care deeply about. One of those is like you said, I didn't come here to be where we are, but we are. So I'll do a lot of learning as to why.
You said a moment ago that the atmosphere we had today is what the lads will need going forward. You didn't say us. Are you going to be part of it? I'm just asking that for the sake of clarity.
Picking up language, who knows? It's not on me. I think, like I said to you before, my head is still all in. I'll keep working until told differently.
It's just, everyone wants to know what's going to happen over the next 2 weeks because it's at a low, isn't it, this club at the moment?
Oh, completely, yeah. I'm at a low, and it's not just the club. I think it's everybody involved with it feels it, and is frustrated and disappointed, and unfortunately, when you look at it, you can't question the lads giving it all today. You can't question that, and that when you talk about cultures, you talk around that. There's not too many games where I come away going, we've not tried our hardest and given everything. If we got things wrong at times in terms of maybe passing back when we should play forward, of course, and that happens. I think when you're anxious and you're a little bit nervous, I think when you look at it, you have to be better ultimately.
Liam Manning, his final words to us on BBC Radio Norfolk as the Norwich City head coach. If you're just joining us, it's a special edition of Canary Call. Chris Gorham here with Rob Butler and Phil Daly. We're reacting to the news with you that Norwich City have parted company with head coach Liam Manning in the last half an hour. We'd like your thoughts and feelings this evening after another difficult day for the Canaries at Carrow Road, where they were beaten 2-1 by Leicester. You can call 0800 389 7321. WhatsApp us on 08000 321 333. Start with the word Norfolk, and you can send us voice notes on that as well if you just want to give us a very quick summation of how you feel. Let's talk to the former Norwich City defender Darren Kenton, who was at the match today at Carrow Road. He's one of our regular BBC Radio Norfolk summarisers. He was actually working for our colleagues at BBC Radio Leicester today, but he's seen a lot of Norwich recently. Darren, good evening. Thanks for joining us.
Good evening.
Are you surprised?
Not surprised. You kind of feel sorry for the manager because the performances ain't been great, but you kind of feel that the problems are more deep-rooted than just the manager.
With that in mind, then, realistically, what is going to change but by dismissing the manager?
Well, nothing really. I mean, I don't know who's got that magic wand that's going to go in and turn the performances around. Like the problems are the players. Like the players just haven't been good enough. The recruitment hasn't been good enough. I said it in the week. You look back at Stuart Webber's time at the club and the players that he was able to unearth who come in fairly low fees and sold on for a decent amount. So you look at the players that bought in the last two seasons, they're spending 5, 10, 15 million pounds on players, and they just haven't been good enough.
Yeah, in terms of today's game, because that is what has clinched it, Norwich were winning with half an hour to go. How much do you put the collapse after that, and Leicester then going on to dominate the game and win it, how much was that down to the tactics of Liam Manning on the day? Yeah, you kind of do put a bit down to it, I mean, but you can only do as well as the players you've got at your disposal. And you look at the Leicester bench, they're able to bring on Bobby Decovery, and he pretty much changed the game for them. There was no one really on the Norwich bench that could make a difference in the game the way that he did. So you do kind of put it down to his tactics, but he can only do as much as what you've got at your disposal.
Yeah, Darren, it's Rob Butler here. I mean, we said hello to you earlier, and you've been with us recently. You were there on Wednesday with us, and you mentioned it there. Mavadidi comes off their bench, a brilliant player at this level, and I'm surprised he hasn't been sort of starting for them. But Norwich have spent 55 million. That's the thing in the summer. That's an extortionate amount of money for a team that are second from bottom in the table and going down. So lots of fans are angry about Ben Napper. You know that because you've been with us for a lot of the games this season. So surely he's the one doing the sackings, but it might be that people are still pointing fingers at him because his recruitment has been nothing short of woeful, has it?
It's been poor. I mean, it's obviously you go back to the previous manager and he couldn't do much with the players that he had. So is it the manager or is it the people who's bringing the players in that are doing the bad job? It's probably a touch of both, but you can't solely put the blame on the manager, and that's where the buck stops with the manager most of the time. But it's not entirely his fault, and you kind of feel sorry for the man because he seems like an honest guy. Like he's a former player, I believe, and he had the club at his heart. So you feel sorry for him, but that's the nature of the beast. That's football. If the manager didn't get the results, the manager's one that gets a sack. But I said it's probably the higher ups that should be worried about their jobs rather than the manager.
Yeah, Kent, it's Phil here. I mean, sometimes when we're at this stage, it's because the players have down tools and are not playing for the manager. Do you think that was the case at the moment? Because, I mean, obviously the players have got to carry some of the can for this, haven't they?
Yeah. You never know. You never know. It's the performance. I went to Derby and Sheffield Wednesday, and first half at Derby they were good. They were okay. They put in a decent performance, and they probably could have been 2 or 3 up by half time. And then second half they come out and it's a completely different team. So maybe it is down to the manager and the players down and tools for him, but it's hard to put your finger on what actually is the problem. Like if it's a manager or if it's a deeper root, and I'd feel myself it's probably the CEO that's got to take a lot of responsibility for what's going on at the club right now.
Darren Kenton, former Norwich City defender and regular with us on our coverage of Norwich City. Let's say thank you to you and leave it there. Thank you very much for joining us. Get through as many of your comments and calls as we can with the news that Liam Manning has left Norwich City. Harry from Bressingham, he says it's very sad how it's all turned out. A local boy managing our great club, but it's just not going to change, clearly, and I think the correct decision has been made. But Ben Napper has let Liam Manning down. Another message here says he had to go. I wanted it to work out, but he just never got going and he had to go. It's not just Manning, however. Napper needs to go as well. And Rob Butler, this is a point that's going to come up time and time again, I think, over the next few days, that Liam Manning, managers always, when a team loses as many games as Norwich have, managers, head coaches, whatever you want to call them, they always end up being the ones that pay with their jobs. But if you've been at Carrow Road, if you've been at Norwich City matches recently, it's been Ben Napper's name that's been chanted in less than complimentary terms by the fans way before Liam Manning's.
I think I'm not going to sit here and say that Liam Manning doesn't deserve a large part of the blame here, because of course he does. He's put the team out there. He's managed the game poorly today. Norwich were cruising at 1-0 for a few minutes, and then they totally capitulated and lost the game. After a brilliant goal by Chris Score, and who played well today. Joe McCarmer played well. So there was game management issues there. But the bigger issue here is that Ben Napper, over and over, has failed as Norwich sporting director. And I've said this so many times, so apologies till I'm blue in the face. You've heard all this before from me on Canary Call, but he sacked David Wagner, which you would say was harsh on him because he got Norwich to the playoffs, that's the best Norwich have done for a long time. Certainly, not looking down there where they are now. He's done that. He's brought in Johannes Torup, which was quite. There's green shoots there. Norwich scored goals. They played a good attacking football. They won games. But then eventually he made the call, and it was somewhat surprising to sack him. Was that the right decision? May have Johannes Torup improve things? I don't know. We were on a slippery slope. So that's happened. He's now brought in Liam Manning, who I think is a good coach. And when he got the job, let's not change our tune. Liam Manning, we all thought was going to be a good appointment because he's got a team to the playoffs. He's a local boy, all those things. That was the least important thing. But he was a local boy with a good experience in the Championship, a proven Championship manager. That's failed. Couple that with all the various poor signings that he made, and I said this on the phone in the other night, his first signing was Sidney Van Hooijdonk. That's all I need to say. Pound for pound, one of the worst players we've seen played for Norwich, and totally a misfit. A lot of other signings he's brought in have been poor. There have been good ones. We saw Chris scoring today. We saw Jovan Makama's been good, and he played well again today. But on the whole, they've been poor signings. So that's the man that I think should be really in the firing line here. But he's the one putting out the statement saying, I've decided to sack Liam Manning. When it should be him, I think, who really is in the firing line here. And I think that is going to only anger Norwich fans more. And couple that with, we spoke about it on the phone in and before the game today, the fact that there's a glossy magazine or whatever, or PDF that's come out in the last couple of days, yesterday in fact, when the accounts come out, with him waxing lyrical about, I think he's the right man for the job, I think he's going to turn it around despite a poor start, I think we're going to be an established Premier League, or this is what we want by 2028. We are miles off it, and that's why fans are angry with Ben Napper.
I think you will happily say, if a new head coach comes in, Rob, and does turn this group of players into world beaters in Norwich City,
miracle.
I mean, they've got to do plenty now to get out of the position they're in, let alone make a charge higher up the table. You would happily eat your words and say, do you know what, great job, Ben Napper. But as it stands, exactly what you're talking about so far, the only thing that has been tried and tested before this season is Liam Manning. Now, you cannot doubt what you cannot talk down what the results have been, but you've got a load of players who have not been tried and tested in the Championship. You've got a head coach who, a sporting director who has not done it yet. You have to be given a chance before you can go on to prove it. But his first job has been at Norwich City as a sporting director, and it has so far not worked out. Liam Manning's the only one that's been tried and tested, yet he is the one who has got his marching orders.
Totally right.
So from that point of view, although, as we say, hindsight will be a wonderful thing, and whoever comes in now, and we assume that this is the end of things. I mean, it's Mark Atanasio's club, essentially, isn't it? So he may well go on to make more changes, because the other thing, Chris, we were talking about, if you are going to change that sporting director position, is now a really good time to do it. I mean, you can argue yes, because you're going to give someone some money to spend in January, although if someone comes in now, they've not really got much time to get their feet under the table to do that. But then you're talking about the summer, which feels like a light years away.
Just before we pick up again, the bottom line is, we know, because we speak to sporting directors, we haven't spoken to Ben Napper as much as perhaps some fans would like, but we have spoke to him. We spoke to him, off the record, on the record. Sporting directors are by their very nature very organised, you'd hope, and are already thinking 2 steps ahead. Yeah. He will have his list of players he wants to sign in January. You can bet your bottom dollar. We're in November now, so whatever happens now, if you get a new sporting director in, they're going to say, well, hang on, I need a bit more than one transfer winner. Ben Napper said himself, judge me after 2 or 3 transfer winners. We are judging you as people covering Norwich City. The Norwich fans are judging him, and it's a massive thumbs down for Ben Napper at the minute.
Henry Winter, the football journalist, well-known football journalist, has just put on social media, Norwich City dismissed Liam Manning on the day Jack Wilshere makes it 4 wins on the spin at Luton Town. Right, Wilshere had hoped for the Norwich job after a well-received 2-game caretaker stint. Norwich felt inexperienced Wilshere a risk, but Manning isn't the sole issue here. Norwich's sporting director Ben Napper under huge pressure from fans to get the next appointment right.
Yeah, but should he be given this time? This is the thing.
Nick Masheter, who is a BBC Sports journalist who was watching the game with us today and was part of Canary Call along with Rob Butler. Nick, I don't know if you expected to be back on the air quite so soon, but you can't say that Norwich City haven't acted swiftly after today's defeat. A couple of hours after the final whistle, and Liam Manning's gone.
We should have all just stayed on the gantry, guys, should we not? It's not a surprise that it was untenable at the end. You can't have the results. You can't be in the position that Norwich are in the table and expect to keep your job. But as you were both saying, as Rob was saying, there are greater problems here. Liam Manning wasn't the sole problem at Norwich City. Liam Manning was probably a symptom of the greater issues at Norwich City, but he was not the problem. And just sacking Liam Manning, parting ways with Liam Manning, is not going to solve Norwich's problems completely.
Also on the line, scrimmage presenter from Talk Norwich City, Chris Reeve. Chris, what's your gut feeling right now?
Well, peace. I feel so much calmer. I was walking through the protests outside the game, outside the ground today, and just had such a profound sense of sadness that this was the sorry state that our football club had sunk into. And then I've instantly thought, well, Mark Attanasio, of course, came on the Canary Call special and said Ben needs Liam and Liam needs Ben. So my thinking now is, blimey, well, I wonder what could be next. It leaves, an answer. But as I think a lot of people have rightly said, this isn't just a Liam Manning problem. There are many problems going on at Norwich City, and hopefully Mark is now going through all of those and ticking them off.
Chris, stay there. Let's bring Nick Masheter in. Nick, we heard Liam Manning in his post-match interview, and it's a drum he's been banging for a while now about the greater problems behind the scenes, a lot needing to be sorted out. And he even conceded today in the interview we played during Canary Call and played at the start of this Canary Call special as well, that maybe he could have done a bit more due diligence on Norwich City. So what does that say about their chances of landing a head coach who can get them out of the mess that they're in? Because any other head coach is going to look at the club and go, hang on, Liam Manning's lasted, 3 months? Yahannesov Torup wasn't given a season, that they sacked David Wagner when he got in the playoffs. Is anyone going to want to touch this job, Nick?
Yeah, I mean, that due diligence issue was something that was mentioned to me a few weeks ago by some good sources. And, maybe that's on Liam Manning and other people, but you go to Norwich and you feel it looked, on the whole, as a real stable club to go into at the time. And Liam Manning is always going to back himself. Managers are always going to back themselves to be the ones to turn things around, or be the ones to be the success, be the ones to win promotion. And now Norwich's value, if you want to put it in those terms, in terms of managers looking to come back into management, looking for a role, that's going to be fairly well diminished right now. But there's been interest previously from Gary O'Neill. Obviously, he was close to the job in the summer. He was close to the Wolves job earlier in the week and backed away from that because he was worried about if things went south at Molineux, if things didn't go well at Molineux, what that was going to do for his career prospects going forward. So you were quite right in saying, what would they be like if it went south at Norwich for any manager and any career prospects? Because there needs to be so much more change. You're going to be a cog in a wheel, which needs a lot of grease. Norwich went through a recruitment process using an executive recruitment company to employ Ben Napper. Now that's not strange. That happens throughout football. That's not strange. So if they do that again, are they going to use the same recruitment company? Are they going to use a different recruitment company? Are they going to use their own contacts? It's a mess. It looks a mess because it is a mess.
Nick, thank you. Chris Reeve, back with you. Your thoughts on Liam Manning's gone, but what should happen next? How do Norwich City get themselves out of this almighty mess, to use Nick Masheter's words there?
Well, I think in the immediate term, it's going to be very tough to do so. If Ryan Gary obviously is to take interim charge, you're not going to see much change on that note. But just wanted to kind of hone in on this kind of, who's the next man at the top now in terms of the head coach. And really, there's two sides of the coin, which is, of course, we are in a very, very dangerous position. They had to make that change now, and I think people are right to be like, well, blimey, who on earth are we gonna bring in now? Are we in, Neil Warnock territory, dare I say? Loads of people are talking about that. But then on the flip side of that, and fans won't want to hear this right now, but it is the truth. Norwich City have a genuine state-of-the-art, top-end Premier League training facility. And I've always stood by this. Don't get me wrong, the players have been grossly underperforming. But many, many head coaches in this league would love to work with the once best striker in the league, which is Josh Sargent. Of course, you've got Kenny McLean, an international skipper there, an out-and-out leader. You've got, I still believe, an extremely good goalkeeper. My point by going through this, Chris, is you've got a strong spine to that team, and I think a manager almost might see what I would call latent potential in Norwich City now, and understand that actually it's not going to take much to get this relatively all right group of players off the basement of this league. So it will be fascinating to see who they bring in next. But of course, the Norwich City fans, as I was in the Lower Barclay today as always, and it very much was more shifted towards Ben Napper than it was Liam Manning, to be honest with you. So it's going to be a very interesting time ahead.
Ben Napper, who, in his time as sporting director over the last 2 years, Norwich have spent £55 million on what Chris Reeve now describes as a relatively all-right squad.
Yeah, we can have a row on Monday on the scrimmage about that. But I always respect Chris's points, but I don't think it is. I think I do think the manager could get more out of them. 100%. Obviously, we've lost 8 games at home in all competitions. That's pathetic. But I really don't think it's as good as perhaps some Norwich fans think. I think Kovacevic made some brilliant saves today, but as far as he is with his feet, he was poor. I just wanted to say, and thanks Chris Reeve for coming on, brilliant stuff, back with him on Monday on the scrimmage, but I just wanted to say, Southampton need a manager, Middlesbrough need a manager, it's not confirmed yet, but it seems like Rob Edwards is going to go to Wolves, so we're all going to be fishing in the same pond. Those 3 clubs are all going to be looking at the same managers. Let's just, for argument's sake, I saw Gary O'Neill was linked with Southampton. Let's say that Gary O'Neill goes there. Middlesbrough are going to look, I'm sure Russell Martin will be in the mix for all the jobs, but Russell Martin wasn't spoken to by Norwich in the summer, so that's going to be some jump from Ben Napper to now go to him. And the other one that is a bit of a curveball is Will Still. He's been sacked by Southampton, and he is a manager who, by all accounts has spoken to Norwich or been known to Norwich over the years. So do you get another manager there who's on the back of a really, poor job he's done at Southampton? The point I'm trying to make is that there's 3 big championship clubs looking for managers, and we're one of those, and we're in the worst
only
position.
One's in the bottom 3, exactly. Let's keep your reactions coming in. Lots of your texts coming in. 81333. Start with the word Norfolk. WhatsApp 08000 321 333. Tom is a Norwich fan. He's in Liverpool, and Tom, I gather from what you told us this morning, this evening, that you are overwhelmed with emotion. It's a sad time to be a Norwich City supporter, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say I'm overwhelmed with emotion, but I've just been stunned at how others have been. So earlier there was Bridget, the Bridget on Canary Call earlier. There was the interview with Kellen Fisher. He was close to tears. And yeah, it's just very, very intense at the moment. And to be honest, I've been a Norwich fan nearly all my life, and I've not known anything like it. I've got a bit of a lump in my throat now.
Yeah, interesting you should say that, Tom. And, we might get time to actually get Bridget back on later on in the programme, because actually, as a friend of hers, I just want to make sure she's all right, because she was really upset. She had tears in her eyes. And I think the point that needs to be made is that, we're lucky enough to report on this football club, Tom, and we love our jobs, and we love this football club. It's no secret that all 3 of us sat here presenting this programme are Norwich fans. We don't try and hide that. And it really does affect people, doesn't it? And, people talk about their mental health and what have you. And obviously, there are bigger things in life than football. Believe you me, there are. And Liam Manning knows that better than anything. But for a lot of people, and let's say the majority of Norwich fans, Tom, this is their life. They spend a lot of money on this, home and away. They travel miles. They get home at 3 o'clock in the morning, then go to work at 6. This is the life, isn't it, Tom? And that's why these things do affect people.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's strange to mention money, because this is also the first time I've ever known when, for Norwich City, money isn't really a problem. We're not looking for, where the next investment's going to come from because of who's in charge of the club now. It's just that everything else is broken, and it's just so bizarre.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have to, obviously they've sacked him, so they're going to have to pay him off. That's not going to be a lot below £1 million, I should think. I don't know. But
and 2 members of his coaching staff. So 3 people.
So let's call that. Let's. This is total.
Fact packet.
Yeah, but let's say £1 million. So that's £1 million. That's gone. Obviously you're gonna have to get a new manager in, and if you want one who's in a job, you're gonna have to pay compensation. I don't know what they're looking at. So this
but when you compare that to some of the signings that haven't worked out, £9 million for Antti Cernak, who's not done very much. Actually, it's quite good value if you think you're going to get a benefit from it.
I totally agree. But this, you can't keep throwing money at things. And believe you me, Tom's spot on. Atanasio is a rich man, obviously. Delia and Michael had a bit of money, and it had to be self-funded in the end. But Atanasio is a businessman who's been very successful. He's not going to keep throwing bad money at things. So does he want Ben Napper to have another transfer window where he signs, let's be honest, his track record in the transfer market is poor. Does he really want him to sign another 5 players who could be equally as poor as the ones he just brought in? I think you're throwing bad money after bad money there.
Let's bring you a little bit of the atmosphere, just in case you weren't at Carrow Road today and you're wondering quite what it's like when a team has lost 8 home games in a row and become the first ever in the second tier of English football to lose its first 7 home league games of a season. What does that do to the crowd? This is a bit from outside the grounds this evening, a little bit earlier on. That's just a little bit of the flavour of the protests that went on for quite a long time until they were dispersed by security stewards and police as well. Jack Reeve from Talk Norwich City is on the line to speak to us now. Jack, evening to you. Do you share this sense of sort of sadness but inevitability that feels like it's the dominating feeling at the moment?
Yeah, good evening. Gents, what a palaver this has all turned into. Yeah, I think there was a sense of inevitability. I was starting to doubt myself. It felt like there's been natural break points where we could have, maybe made a decision on the future of Liam Manning sooner, and we've passed up on those options. And the messaging from the club, I mean, it's been an absolute disaster class in PR, hasn't it? But the messaging has been, we're backing everyone, and we see this as a mission that we deem fit for purpose. So I was starting to doubt it, but it was, the scenes after the game today were, it was a complete breaking point, and sadly Liam, it hasn't worked out for him. I hope that this is a start and this isn't the end of sackings. I think the great interview that Rob and Phil did with Mark Atanasio, I got the sense that Mark was looking more at Ben Napper than Liam Manning at that point. Slightly, I mean, it was obviously going to be Ben Napper who made the statement this evening, but his consistent failings can't be continued to be rewarded. So hopefully this is a starting point. Something had to change. Unfortunately for Liam, it was him, but more is needed.
But in the last 10 days, it's about 10 days since Mark Atanasio sat here, and you're quite right, we were all reading between the lines. He did seem to have more forceful backing for Liam Manning than he did Ben Napper. He talked about the importance of Shane Duffy coming back into the team, who in the last 10 days has come back into the team and then dropped back out of the team again. So I know results always impact things, but even the messaging that's coming out of the club doesn't feel particularly consistent at the moment, does it?
You're absolutely bang on, Chris. The Shane Duffy situation is absolutely laughable, and the fact that he was open for a move in the summer, then he's come back in, and he was suddenly the saving point. And there was that moment against Hull, wasn't there, where he was kind of just laid flat on the ground. And I thought, if that's who we're looking at to save us, then we're in real dire straits. They've fanned the fire excellently. And I don't know what's been said on Canary Call this evening, but I do want to say that all of the protests after this game and actually after the previous game, in my eyes, have been respectful. I haven't seen any abuse towards families or players. This is a fan base frustrated with what's going on, and a board of directors consciously not making decisions. And look, we're in a real state now. The sacking of Liam Manning doesn't necessarily change things drastically. I think we will see a slight uplift, but we're already getting cut adrift. You mentioned Will Still getting sacked from Southampton. They've won 2 in a row. Sheffield United, I'm sure, will fancy their chances to put on a run as well. And we've been somehow dragged into this, and Ben Napper, Zoe Webber, Liam Manning all must take huge responsibility for that. It's been a truly shameful start to the season, and I was looking around this evening as the protests went on, and I just couldn't get my head around how we've found ourselves in this position. It's remarkable.
Jack, I wanted to pick up on exactly what you just said there, because how long is it going to take now before it feels like Norwich City are back on track? So let's say they find a new head coach in the next couple of weeks, 3 weeks' time. You've got, just over 2.5 weeks until Norwich's next home game, Oxford at Carrow Road. You can sort of hear it already now, can't you? Joe Bloggs has managed to do what Liam Napper couldn't do on his first home game and finally win at home in front of the home crowd, and everyone's applauding. But is that going to be papering over the cracks? You just mentioned that the bounce you quite often get from a new head coach. When are we going to know if Norwich City have done the right thing or not?
Well, I think you're absolutely right, Phil. This will be papering over the cracks until Napper, Webber, and Adams all also depart this football club. But you can't. I think, as Rob has alluded to before, you can't get rid of them all at once. So you have to make a start. The absolute priority at this stage now is survival. I'm not having this. Going down to League One might be a good thing. that relegation is never, ever a good thing. And dropping into League One would be really, really critical for Norwich City. Look, I think we will see a bounce. The coaching has been poor this season. I think that the fan support today was really good. We saw a competent performance for 65 minutes against a really, again, another team in the Championship who feel like they're in crisis in Leicester. And the fact that we somehow found a way to let them win was, it was the epitome of this season. It was disastrous. And once again, Liam Manning looking for behaviours and his team to lead by example straight down the tunnel. If I was one of his players looking round as I was facing up to the Barclay with my head coach nowhere to be seen, I think that was very telling. And yeah, that will be the parting blow.
OK, Jack, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much. I know Jack and Chris Reeve have got work to do with their Talk Norwich City channel as Norwich City fans react to what's happened. Lots of your messages coming in, which I'll get to in a moment. But I wanted to mention how quickly this has all happened. And Phil was saying earlier on that perhaps he could have saved his job today with a draw or even a win, and Norwich were on course to get those two things at various points today. But it's happened so quickly, and I'm sure Mark Atanasio would have to have been involved in this. They would have to have convened some sort of board meeting. Was the die cast before today? They've moved so quickly.
Well, we've seen that before famously, haven't we, at Brentford, when we were driving home. Phil was on air and we had to pull over. It's
the same sort of timing,
It is the same sort of timing.
There must have been a decision made earlier than full time.
Totally. So that leads you to believe, why wasn't it done before today's game? Because actually, had you done it before today's game, yes, there still would have been the criticism of Ben Napper, but you would have got a crowd turning up there who were really up for it and gone, come on, we need to win today, because if your object of your disgust is Liam Manning, he's gone, let's get behind the team, and they might drag on. However, I will say that Norwich fans proved yet again, despite all the criticism they've had and despite their senior players actually calling them out on social media as well, and we've seen that recently with what Shane Duffy tweeted to one fan, despite all that, Norwich City fans were absolutely brilliant today. Me and Phil stood there and we took our headphones off and you could hear it. After that goal went in, the roof nearly came off. After that goal went in, there was on the ball City chants, there was all the stuff you would hear from a team that were top of the league. Yeah. So those Norwich fans, after a bit of a kick in this week, and the club kind of, alluding to the fact that some of this might be their fault, it's never the fans' fault, I've said that a million times, they really turned up today. And yet again, that team, and wherever you look at it, whether it be the manager, the players on the pitch, the sporting director, the chief executive, whoever it is, let them down today.
I think Manning thought he was going to save his job. I mean,
they were when Chris Scoren scored.
100%. And I think he genuinely thought one result might turn things around. And if him and Ben Napper were as tight as they say they were, that they might genuinely believe that. And he was relatively close, as you say, when it got to that point against Leicester, who are, let's face it, a decent team of players. Yeah, they're not doing that great this season. It looked like it might be enough. So I think he saved his job on Wednesday night from coming from behind to earn a draw. It was poor. I totally agree. And then after, I can't remember what minute it was, but 60 odd minutes, he probably felt like this might be the start of a turning point. But he also probably felt, by the way, his manner in that interview that you did, Chris, afterwards, that maybe he knew. I don't know whether it happens in football, whether your sporting director ever actually does say, you need to win today or you're gone.
No, it doesn't.
But, you get the mood music. We heard from Johannes Hoff-Torp, didn't we? When he left, he was after saying, well, your relationship starts to change with your sporting director and the people around you. They just treat you slightly different. So you're not immune from those kind of vibes around the training ground.
But Liam Manning, the last few weeks, in the interviews that we've done with him in pre-match and post-match with Chris, has actually dug out Ben Napper a little bit in a clever way, I think, personally, and you can go back and listen to him on BBC Sounds. I think he's kind of going, well, this is what we've got. I didn't realise it.
Learnings from this year about the team we've got.
I've had a long chat with him and Neil and blah, 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 and has he been stabbed in the back? I don't know. We'll never know. We can only go what we know.
Let's bring in Jamie, who I believe you're in the lower Barclay today, were you, Jamie?
I was indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes.
Sum up what your afternoon has been like then.
Oh, what a day! It's been a day, but no, we didn't stop singing today. We were on the chairs, we're singing our hearts out. And what I was just going to say was just Manning's now been sacked, but I just think it's painting over rotten wood, if I'm honest. And I think, if we really want to progress, and like bounce back and progress as a club, it's like we need to make changes at board level. And then that's quite following on from what Jack said and like what everyone's saying anyway. But you know, there was talk a couple of weeks ago about Ben Kentel coming back. You know, how likely is that to happen? I think, you know, when he was with us, he didn't do a bad job. There was like.
There's not. Well, that isn't a job that's available at the moment, though, is it? This is the thing.
So I said this on Canary Call, Jamie, and I do appreciate, you know, that clearly, you know, the reports are that Ben Kenzel wants the job. Well, as I said, you know, I'm sure Tim Krul will come and play goal for us. You know, the bottom line is, though, shouldn't Norwich be looking for a fresh start and moving on a little bit and doing something new rather than going back? I mean, we might as well get Paul Lambert back, or, you know, I think lots of people love Daniel Farke to come back, but shouldn't they be thinking of a new plan?
Oh, I'd love Daniel Farke to come back.
Well, there you go.
Watch
this space.
Jamie, tomorrow, Leeds against Nottingham Forest, and if Nottingham Forest win that, Leeds are not far outside the bottom three of the Premier League. I'll just leave that there.
No, that's fair. That would be the dream, boys. Like if Daniel was to come back, the prodigal son returns. That'd be amazing. But like, well, no, as I was just gonna say, like, I just think, you know, like change is good, and obviously Manning's now moving on. I don't think this is all on Manning. I generally don't. Obviously, some of the decisions he's made has been questionable, but like I think, obviously, I was there tonight. Obviously, I live next door to Carrow Road, so I went to see what was going on at the protest and stuff like that, and it was all pretty horrific, to be fair.
Yeah.
And like, I don't like seeing it, you know.
No, it's sad, isn't it, Jamie? It's sad.
At the same time, it needed to happen. Like, you know, Norwich have got such a great fan base, you know, and we're so passionate about our club. We love our club. And I just think, you know, the higher ups need to listen to us to a certain extent. And like,
right. Well, Jamie, I've got a job for you, Jamie. You live near Carrow Road. Can you keep an eye on the car park there for us over the next couple of weeks? Let us know who turns up.
I literally live next door.
Yeah, let us know if you see anybody.
It's always in a service station in the middle of nowhere.
Let us know who you see, who's getting suits measured up and whatever else. Good stuff, Jamie. Thank you.
We will move on to this on Monday on the scrimmage at 6:00 about who Norwich
speculation.
Fans. Well, that's what
we love it.
We've done this a million times. Yeah. You do one show on He's Gone. You do one show on Who's Next, and you know the one.
This is different because Who's Next? Actually, a lot of people are saying Ben Napper. They're not. They're saying this isn't enough.
This is
usually when a head coach
that
goes,
hasn't not
that's
happened
the end
yet.
of it.
Put it that way. That hasn't not happened yet. So let's watch your space. You know, I think the Napper outers, if you like, will be kind of the weight out of the air out of their balloon. The fact he's done the statement to sack him, because if it was Mark Atanasio's people doing it or Norfolk Holdings, but what I will say is, you know, there's people like Michael Carrick. He's a manager that really has turned a lot of heads over the years. Was a bit unfortunate, but maybe Borough will get him back. Who knows? But he's a manager that perhaps is a fresh idea that might come. But again, is a manager going to want to work for a team, albeit Norwich City are one of the biggest teams in the Championship? They're a perennial top 24 or 26 or whatever that Stuart Webber used to say, which is true. However, they are second from bottom of the league. They're adrift in the relegation zone, and they have a sporting director who, the facts are, his record of recruitment, and it's not just him, it's a team he's got, but he heads up that team. His recruitment has been poor. That's a fact.
Well, again, just going back to what we were saying,
want to work with him?
What we were saying against Jack, how long before we find out what's going on? Because a new head coach comes in now, and they've got a bit of grace, haven't they? You've got a grace period. You come in, and they're going to say, well, I've got lots to sort out. Even the previous now manager, Liam Manning, said there was lots of issues behind the scenes. So if they don't win for a period of time, is it, again, their fault? Is it the sporting director's fault? But it also then just means there are going to be, if whoever comes in doesn't start winning straight away, excuses down the line, more of them, as to why Norwich City are not progressing.
Let me whiz through a few of the texts and WhatsApp messages that are coming into us tonight. Jack says Napper needs to resign next. The only way we can move forward is a change of leadership. So this is different, this one. Well, we've covered lots of Norwich City managers leaving, but it's not enough for a lot of supporters that are getting in touch with us. Gaza in Hunstanton says it ain't just Manning. Napper's been been given 50 million and bought in garbage. Need British players with fight. This team won't change no matter who replaces him. Jason says, no surprise, to be honest. We need to get the next manager with proven championship experience. Gary O'Neill would be my choice. Looks like he might be joining Southampton. That's the rumour anyway. Should have gone for Mark Robbins before he got the Stoke job.
Oh, don't tease me.
Phil in Essex says, feel incredibly sorry for Manning. He inherited a bunch of players signed by Napa and given no support. He was hung out to dry by the club. Napa needs to go tonight as well. Another one here says Manning will go down as statistically the worst manager in the entire history of our club. This is a start. Now Napa, Webber and Adams next. We can stay up with smart appointments. That's David. Napa should have gone, not Manning. Webber was brilliant in the beginning, but eventually his magic faded. For the first time in ages, the team has money to spend in the transfer window, and the results are worse than when there's nothing in the bank. There is a flavour of what we've got coming into us this evening, and you can keep adding to it. WhatsApp 08000 321 333.
Few more of your tweets, actually. Lots of people are getting in touch on X social media as well. This one from QWERTY. I can't imagine there's a Norwich fan that doesn't want to see the back of Webber and Napa. The club can't move on until they're gone. This one from Ben. People keep talking about the owners and all the money, but there is a big difference in having billions and managing billions. Don't get caught up in them being able to invest whatever they want. The club is in big trouble. That's a really good point, actually. And this one from Jason. Russell Martin or Will Still are not the answer going forward. Our current midfield is also not the answer. Topic and Pelle Matson are not even League One standard. Total overhaul in January. That's if we even keep hold of Sargent.
Just to add some, not balance, but obviously Ben Napper is not here to come on and defend himself, if you like. We have asked, and that's one of the reasons we can't put his side of things across. It's just important to say, I don't really believe from all the conversations I've had, and I'm sure you two would say exactly the same, that nobody's doing this on purpose. You know, Liam Manning, we really wanted it to work. The story was brilliant, wasn't it? It was a Norfolk boy who's come back to his hometown club and had experience in the Championship and really was desperate to do well, and I think he tried to get that across in every single press conference. And Ben Napper, not trying to do a bad job at the club, thinks he's doing the best, but it is not working.
No, and that's what makes this even sadder, to borrow a word that was used earlier on. That a lot of this is self-inflicted.
And also
bad decisions.
Getting rid, and we've said this in the week, getting rid of the manager is not necessarily going to make things better. Sometimes you change the manager. We saw it ironically when we were last in League One. You get in Paul Lambert, the rest is history. You bring in Daniel Farke. All right, that first season was not great, but it wasn't terrible. But a lot of people were calling for Farke to go, and it turned, and we had two of the greatest seasons we've ever had, albeit behind closed doors. So actually, this time, changing the manager is not a fix-all.
No, it is. It's the easiest thing. If there are lots of problems and the manager is one, it's the easiest one to change.
Because you just get rid of him. So, well, I'll stay in charge as the sporting director.
But it doesn't solve everything. Ian is from Poringland. Ian, your thoughts?
When I first heard the news this evening that Manning had been sacked, my first initial thought was, will Napper be the chap who's going to decide the new manager? And will he also be here in January to waste more money? I think it's been touched by Rob Butler, those questions, because quite frankly, a lot of this has really, really been down to Ben Napper, which has been sort of said this evening before. And there's the sacking of Lee Manning, who I do have a certain amount of sympathy for, should have been done several weeks ago. And it may well be too late, but whoever takes over has got one hell of a job. But if they're going to keep Ben Napper in charge, it's got to make the new manager's job even harder.
Your opinion there, Ian, is not the first time we've heard those sentiments since we came on the air this evening at 7. We'll keep going for another 10 minutes or so with our Canary Call special. Rob, we've got Bridget on the line. I know you want to reacquaint yourself with Bridget.
I do. I love Bridget. I think all the Norwich fans do. And the first thing I want to say to you, Bridget, is, are you okay? Because I'm not. My tongue is not in my cheek here, Bridget, because I know how much this football club means to you, and I know how much it means to all the people around you in the Barclay. I just want to make sure you're all right first of all.
Yeah, I'm absolutely fine. I can't say I fancy another chat on the radio tonight after what felt like a total head loss from me earlier. I just, I found this afternoon extremely difficult, as was evident at the end of the game. And as much as I'm relieved to hear that change has occurred, I don't think that this solves the problem. I really don't. And I'm pleased that something has happened. I'm pleased that we don't all have to be completely obsessed with what the next step might be, because honestly, I think that's why I lost it today. This has been in my head for weeks. And I just hope, I really hope that Mark Atanasio is executing a plan now that starts with Liam Manning moving on, but also now holds the other people in our club that have been in post for far longer than Liam Manning to account.
I'm conscious we haven't got long left, Bridget, but I do appreciate you coming on. I know you didn't really want to, but the main reason is because we wanted to make sure you're right. That's the first thing, because you're such a well-loved Norwich fan. But we've spoke about this to earlier callers. Tom mentioned your name and said how upset he was to hear how downbeat you were, but this perhaps is something that's going to start a silver lining. I think that's the way we have to look at it. We all have to try and be positive, don't we? And this is the first element of perhaps a change at the football club. There needs to be more done, but how worried are you that Norwich have left it too late? How worried are you that Ben Napper is perhaps going to get more time and he's going to get another transfer and that could really cause Norwich problems? Do you think they can they can stay in this league?
I don't know, but I think what we all know is that whatever situation we're in, us fans are here forever. So we will support the club through thick and thin. I just think it is so wrong that Ben Napper is being allowed to kind of worm his way out of this situation and say that he's going to get us fans back on side. I mean, where does he think? What does he think we've been going through the last few weeks? You've been asking for interviews with him. Even Mark Atanasio said you'll have to ask Ben. I mean, I just think it's plain wrong. He needs to do the right thing, move aside, and let us move forward in a more positive way, as you say, and do what we can to save ourselves. And loads of people are saying we'll be able to pull ourselves out of the bottom three. I hope we can. I really do.
Bridget, thank you. We'll let you get on with your Saturday night and your weekend. Text I wanted to read here has just come in from one of our listeners this evening. It says, credit to Liam Manning for stepping up to the role despite having been through the worst year any human could imagine. Saddened it didn't work out for him. We are in serious trouble. Our texter here says the last time Norwich were relegated to League One, after 15 games, they had 16 points. A reminder that after 15 games this time, they have 9 points. They are 4 points adrift in the bottom three. They are one place off the bottom of the table, and it's a rescue job. It's a rescue job.
Do you Glenn Roeder quote?
Well, it's 8 points in November, which Norwich did start November with 8 points. And they've taken one since.
I think, and you might remember, Chris, better than I do, but obviously when Stuart Webber handed over to Ben Napper now, there was a handover period, and I'm sure Stuart Webber was probably involved in the recruitment, and I'm sure he even said at one point, well, actually part of my role is finding the new me, but it was all part of a structured handover. Well, this is a bit different, and obviously the ownership has changed as well. So who is finding the new sporting director, if indeed they are looking for one? And how is that being organised?
Well, I think one of the things that was picked out from Atanasio's interview was when we asked him, and lots of people asked us to ask him, and we did, who is advising you outside of the football club? He said no one. He said, I'm taking advice from the staff that are there, Zoe Webber and Ben Napper. That's marking your own homework. We've done all the jokes on that. But it's true. That is the worry. And we've said before, Delia and Michael, the previous owners, at least had those people in football, Roy Hodgson being the big name, they could phone up and say, what do you think, Roy? Need a bit of advice? She spoke on air about that. She told us about that. Said it on interviews. Yeah. Mark Atanasio is asking Ben Napper, effectively, how are you doing?
Mm-hmm. And he's going to go as it stands. Although we also picked up he's a smart bloke. So
of course, he's only telling us what he's telling us. But
well, he did say relegation is not an option. as well.
Well, it might be.
It is, sadly.
Yeah. Text here says Brendan Rodgers is the 3-1 bookies' favourite. Now, I will take that with an early pinch of salt because I don't know how quickly the bookies can get.
Yeah, I mean, this is all going to come, isn't it? I mean, Ryan Gary's in charge at the minute, so maybe he'll get the job like Worthy did that time.
Definitely happy with Carrick, says our texter here. We've loads of these coming in. Not going to get time to read them all out, but we do appreciate them all. Alan from Beckel says, I'm not sure who would want to come in to work with the current sporting director. It's also the current squad is the worst I've seen since the Roeder days. And Paul in Old Catton says, Mark Robins is my all-time favourite Norwich City player, and that's why I don't want him. If things went wrong, I couldn't bear seeing him get the criticism.
It's true. But we've worked with Mark, and me and Chris have worked with him at away games, actually, and what a bloke. I mean, it didn't take much for me and Chris to love Mark Robins because he was a hero to us, but so diligent, so good to talk to. He would be my dream manager and has been for about 10 years.
He's a very diligent man, and at the moment he is the manager of Stoke City, who are third on 27
Are you going
points.
to tempt a manager from there? Well, he's obviously loves Norwich City because he was a great player for us, but it's a dream. It's a dream. But we could have got him. We could have got him a long time ago, and we didn't.
We've got a few more days of this because there's no Norwich City game for the next couple of weeks, of course. They next play against Birmingham in 2 Saturdays' time. Whether it will still be Ryan Gary in caretaker charge, interim charge at that point, I don't know.
Well, you were talking about bookies. What odds would you give it on it? How long is this going to take, do you think?
Well, it'll all depend.
So they've done it now to give them time, surely.
But you would like to think that they have had... This has been on the cards, hasn't it, for some time? And you would like to think they have had a plan in the background of if we now lose again, if Liam Manning has been one defeat away from the sack for at least the last week, then surely they've got a plan they would like to do.
And there's plenty of managers available. There's plenty of managers not available, like Mark Robins. But I think the big question that Norwich fans will be asking tonight is, should Ben Napper be the man to make that a next appointment?
Well, at the moment he is. He's put out the statement tonight. I'll just read a little section of it again because it suggests that he thinks he is going to get the chance to choose the next manager, because he says, we accept that's our responsibility. It's now imperative we start to repair the relationship with our supporters and do everything we can to give them something to get behind. So that is the quote of a sporting director who thinks he is now in charge of the recruitment of a new head coach.
And that is a brave decision by Mark Atanasio and the Norfolk Holdings Group, who run this football club, because Ben Napper's track, and I'm only talking facts here, Ben Napper's track record so far as a sporting director is very poor. His recruitment has been poor. The teams he's put together have been poor. His management appointments and sackings have been poor. He sacked a manager. That was his first act. He sacked a manager that got Norwich to the playoffs.
Mick in Belton says, Big Ange in. He always wins something in his second season, and on recent performances, that'll be League One.
I think we should end there. That's a round of applause.
Mick from Belton is one of the regular listeners to our breakfast programme, and I know why he sent that message in, and I'm not going to tell you why he sent that message in, because I don't want to. You won't be applauding then.